Hey, everyone. My name is Jeremy. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jeremy.
I've done the work out of this book, with the help of a Big Book Step Study sponsor, God's Grace. I've finished my amends and practiced 10, 11, 12 every day to the best of my ability. Joe, thank you for asking me. I used to come to this meeting a lot more when I lived in southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire. I live in Rhode Island now, so if you haven't seen me in a while, that's why, but it's really great to be back. Coming to this meeting for quite a number of years. So I'm probably going to talk about like the mechanics of what I did and how I took the step and some of the later effects and implications and whatnot. This is how old I am, right? You ready? I am now this old. It's happened within the last year and a half. I am now this old. For those who can't see, I had to take my glasses off. It's crazy. I was like, oh God. So I just turned 45. It's great to be alive. What do you want me? So when I got sober, I was below 30 in rural Vermont, and everybody in that home group was 50 and older. And I just felt like, and they literally called me kid. But I wanted this like you wouldn't, like I was dying of alcoholism. I had been sitting around in AA, like meeting makers make it, and I didn't make it at a meeting, and they told me just not to drink, and I just not to drink until I drank because I can't help myself, and until I, found meetings like this and people like you. So I used to drive from like the sticks in Vermont all the way down to Keene, New Hampshire, just to come to this meeting on Sunday morning. And that meeting's still going. If anyone, Keene, New Hampshire, 5 to 6:30 in Big Book Step Study. That was my home group for years. It was a great little meeting. It still is. So when I came in, I listened, I shut my mouth, which was fine. All I knew is I wanted someone to tell me what to do because I'd been in AA for a while, and mostly what they told me to do. And they had some practical advice too, but mostly what they told me to do was some of the things I just regurgitated, like just meeting makers make it, just keep coming, shoot for midnight, that kind of thing. And I slowly realized nobody did this on purpose. Nobody did it to me. It's not their fault, but nobody had really worked the steps in that area. And so when I found a man who offered a solution, who was, properly armed with the facts about himself, carried a message of depth and weight, I quickly gravitated, and I said, I must, and I quote, I must have this thing. So I just did whatever. I never balked. I wrote told me to write every single day for at least an hour. I wrote for every single day, at least for 90 minutes, until I was done with the gargantuan fourth step. And so, and I read that to him in piecemeal, and we got it done. And I didn't leave anything out. I did not withhold anything. I did it to the best of my ability. And I think that's all that's really ever required of any step on any day, ever. Just to the best of my... And sometimes that looks sucks. Like I literally told my sponsor the other day, because I know I shared on something that, did not make me look very good. And he was like, wow, that's kind of good. Like, to know that, my sponsor's, capable of, obviously we're not perfect after we've done this work. And I was like, oh yeah, man. Like I would literally be embarrassed if you saw me like scream at my kids or do some things that, I'm character defects, still working on. So we're perfectly capable of that. But then, I did the fifth step and the fourth to the best of my ability. I left nothing out. And that's basically what it's asking when I get to step 6, that I can answer to the satisfaction. I didn't leave anything out. I didn't try and, I'm trying to build an unshakable foundation. It may not be perfect, but, something that which no later vicissitude will shake and cause me to stray from the spiritual path or drink. So I could definitely be like, yep. And so more or less, I read this, I said the prayer, and then I moved on. And I knew I had to be willing. And I believed that if I took 6 and then said the 7th step prayer, thus completing steps 6 and 7, that I'd be better for it. I didn't know what it was going to look like. But I felt more free from writing my 4th, my 5th. I assumed that would carry on. And it did. I just didn't know what life looked like. And I honestly, at that moment, and I still don't, believe that all my character defects would just be taken away. I was not that naive. I've met some of you that have done this work. And I knew that none of us were perfect. So But I was eager to just do it. Mostly I just wanted to check 6, check 7, and start my 8th. Because I did not like what I had done. I was willing to make most of those on the spot and just get down. I like action. When it says in that fear step prayer, we ask God to show us what we should be, which is the appropriate thing for a guy like me. I would really prefer God just tell me what to do. But it's often I need to, embellish, or take on a manner of being, which is perfect, because if ever I'm finding myself in a character defect, usually, the guidance is to do the exact opposite. If I'm feeling pretty rageful, I should probably just go get peaceful or go do something nice for somebody. Being of service to others is almost always the answer to almost any character defect. But, and in case you're wondering why it says shortcomings and character defects, if you're new, they mean the same thing. It's the stuff in our 4th step that we found objectable, that blocks us off from the sunlight of the Spirit, that divides me from you. So there are literally recordings online of the original 100 saying that these mean the same thing, and when they sit in meetings and hear people discuss what's the difference between a shortcoming and a character defect, they just sit back and laugh. So they mean the same thing. History tells us so. But my experience with this too is because before I did this work, I sat around in a lot of step meetings, air quotes, step meetings, which involved a bunch of people in a circle opening the 12 and 12, and we all shared our opinions on things we had no experience with. Not that I judge. And, that was just my experience, and it looked like their experience too. And so I had, a quick experience with doing this, but there was a little bit of reflection. And looking back, I wish, there was a good amount of reflection on the things in my 5th step while taking my hour with God. But it specifically says, if we still cling to something we will not let go of, we ask God to help us be willing. And that's the instruction for the 6th step. And I can use that moving forward. The 6th and 7th step are built into step 10. So this never really leaves me. Which is another reason that I should give it all I got, do it the best of my ability, and I can always do it again. There's been plenty of steps that I've written that were, similar or about the same subject, perhaps, that was on a 4th and 5th step. So I felt very ready. Like, okay, let's move on. And then I said my 7th step prayer out loud to myself in my little room, ready to call my sponsor when I was done. I did it. Let's move. I'm pretty sure I started on my 8th step that night too, and it was pretty late. We had, finished my 5th step earlier that night. But it's really important for me to acknowledge now, to try and remember that when I'm doing all this work and I'm praying for the removal of these defects that stand in the way of my usefulness to you being God, and my fellows. Because a lot of the times when these things come up, I want them to go away because I'm uncomfortable. I don't like it. Maybe I'm embarrassed, or I made a fool of myself. Maybe my ego's running wild. Maybe I'm just raging. I got a lot of rage. I had 1,800 resentments. My teeth are all messed up because I used to crunch my teeth. I still do that sometimes. Literally, I'm going to need new teeth one day. It was that bad. I was just mad all the time. Ask my parents. I was born angry and it never stopped. My dad literally told me that at my 2-year anniversary. So I'm praying so that these things can be taken away, so that I'm of more use to you and my fellows. So I became willing and I asked. In a nutshell, that's it. I became willing and I asked, and then move on. And, and as life goes on, things get colorful. And it becomes more and more apparent that basically my job is to ask, his job is to remove. So I become willing, and then I ask, and then whatever is left over, for lack of a better term, in these character defects, that's what I have to deal with. And in doing so, the answer is still to go to God, in some way, manner, shape, or form, make an amends, make an apology, be of service, go help somebody else, pray about it, meditate, write it out, whatever the case may be. We have marching orders, we have the ladder steps. But it's I don't really sit around and ponder why God left this one and took this one and how am I doing. And, it's kind of just, it's more or less, it has been an upward trajectory of improvement with a lot of hills and valleys. It's just really, it's the way it is. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So I remember actually once I had finished this work, I was making amends, and I was dating a gal at the time, also in Keene, and I was driving from Keene to New York City to meet, I don't know, we'll call her an ex-girlfriend, a girl I knew for a short while. We dated for a short while when I was a very young man. And I was driving there, and I called my sponsor. I'm like, I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing pretty good. I'm literally going to make an amend. Like, I just had a fight with my girlfriend about something, and I'm literally driving to make amends to another girl for doing the exact same thing that I just did today. He laughed too. So we can laugh about it now. It didn't feel good, and it felt great to make that amends. She's like, she thought it really wasn't that bad, but she really appreciated it. Especially I drove all the way to New York City, made amends at a restaurant, and then drove all the way back to Keene. I did a lot of those. I grew up in just outside of New York, so most like half of them were in that area. Go to any lengths. But I mean, and that was that was in close proximity to doing my 6th and 7th step and then starting my amends. Things of that nature have come up again, and they probably always will. But the goal is to continue to have them removed so I can be of use to you and to my fellows in God. And so that I just do a better job. I really, those are my kids in the back. And, if you want to know what your character defects are, perhaps you've forgotten, maybe you haven't looked at your list in a while, have kids, get into a new relationship, perhaps merge into traffic. These are all illuminating experiences. So I really, and because there's been a lot of peace in the whole 12-step process with, looking at the resentments, making the amends, getting over things, giving things to God. But I now do things to my children that I was super mad at my dad for doing to me. So I know I'm human, but I just endeavored to do a better job than I have done in the past and then that he did. Because he's a really great grandpa. And he's 82, my dad. So, he's a pretty good grandpa for, and he's a better dad now, and he's a lot calmer, but just, I just don't remember him always being an angry jerk. I just described him as a grumpy jerk my entire childhood and adolescence. So I just endeavor to do a better job. And I am willing to look at what's going on with me. And recently, a lot of changes going on. Oh, and I just finished, so I joined another fellowship, I don't know, a couple of years ago. Maybe not that long, but I just finished a 4-step in that program. Well, actually, we had a couple pages left, so I'm about to do 6 and 7 again. And I wrote it the exact same way I wrote my 4-step and Big Book Step Study. So, this is good timing for me to be speaking on this step. I'm about to do it again. And I kind of I know a lot of and I don't want to tell anybody what to do. A lot of people are of the mind that, we go through the steps once, and if you're doing the latter steps, you probably won't have to go through another 4-step. I did a little further digging. I wanted to join another fellowship and get some additional help. And it seemed very apropos to go through the steps, but my sponsor's also in AA, so I said, look, this is how I did all my 4-step, and we wrote it like this, and I did this, and I asked myself these questions, and he was like, good to go. So I did it that way. And now, I'm ready to continue to just take a close examination of me. I switched jobs a while ago, so I've been experiencing a lot of financial insecurity. The money seems to be fine, but the financial insecurity is there. And just a lot of changes. I got divorced, 2.5, 3 years ago. We were separated before that too. Just a lot. And experiencing, lately I've been getting a lot of jealousy, FOMO, insecurities. Weird insecurities I have not experienced until I was a late teen, early 20s. I don't know. We could sit around and ponder why, but for the most part, that's probably a useful task. Really what my job is to identify it, keep looking, keep digging, keep soul searching. Not to beat myself up, to feel like, what's going on with me? Maybe I could find a cause, but more importantly, find a solution. What can I do? And I mean, I remember I was pretty upset about something at someone for no good reason. It's probably because they're supposed to do what I wanted to do without me having to ask them. And I really act like this is not a big deal. Like they should really just do this. Is it really that much to ask? And then I realized that, in the midst of me having a hard couple of days, and I just did the opposite. And I just thought of what I could do for this other person, just to be nice, helpful, of service. And then I felt better. It's kind of crazy how I do all this stuff to be of service to you, to establish a connection to God, to not die of alcoholism. And, and if those are my motives, the results are usually pretty good for me. I mean, it's totally fine to, go after the things that I want in life, but, if I'm, snatching and grabbing and greedy and plotting, I'm a plotter and a schemer. Big time. It was all over my four-step, and I can still do that today. But for the most part, it's good to go help a couple people out there, and then it feels good in here, and then I could, that clears the air, clears away all the blockage, and they can experience the sunlight of the Spirit. So that's probably enough out of me. Thanks so much for having me.